welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And in today's episode, we are going to focus on transit. There are a number of issues with our transit system. We have some backups, we have some overloading, which is leading to people being passed by. And we know that in the previous episode I mentioned there's $70 billion in new transit funding divided between local transit service, so buses, metro, and things of that nature, trams, and the other half is dedicated to passenger rail. In fact, this right now is the largest investment that we're seeing in passenger rail since the creation of Amtrak about 50 years ago. So we're going to tap into some of that funding today and build out our transit network and make a number of improvements. So this isn't going to track with reality exactly. A lot of the funding that's available right now is available for modernizing existing transit. So that's electric buses, making sure that all boarding platforms are accessible and things of that nature. So we're not going to do all of that, but we are going to do quite a bit. So but before we get into all of that, there are a couple of things from the previous episode that I want to fix, and we're looking at the primary one right here. I went through the comments and I saw some patterns. The main pattern was that I made a couple of mistakes at this intersection. So first of all, there's the ability to do a UE. So we don't want that. That's not helpful or beneficial in any way. And I think that sometimes, I had the tendency of missing the forest for the tree. And that is what happened here. I made this really long ramp and I raised up all these bridges trying to get over this ramp. And if I would have reversed this, all of those issues would have been resolved. So I'm going to fix those real quick. I'm not going to force you to watch this though. So we're going to use the magic of YouTube to skip this. But before we skip this, I want to give a huge shout out to today's video sponsor, NordVPN. Verde Beach, the perfect place to spend a holiday. You've got beaches, you've got entertainment, and you've got snow. Wait, snow? No. That means disasters. We've got to get to the bunker, and while we're down there, we're going to need to surf the internet to pass the time, and that's where NordVPN comes in. NordVPN provides you with a fast and secure internet connection wherever you are, with over 5,000 servers in 60 countries across the globe. And you can use NordVPN on almost any device out there, whether you're using Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Android, or iOS. But it's not just about security. Using NordVPN, you'll be able to access region-locked content from around the world. This is super helpful for me when I want to watch my favorite shows in Europe and the UK. So I think we're stuck in the bunker throughout the holiday season, but at least we're going to have a safe, secure, fast, and fun internet browsing experience by using NordVPN. And you can too. Go to nordvpn.com/cityplanner or use code cityplanner at checkout for a highly discounted 2-year plan with 1 month free. Once again, that's nordvpn.com/cityplanner. Okay, so I really appreciate this suggestion. This is a much better interchange. It looks better. I think it's going to function better over time. It's more compressed, so we have additional land. There's no U-turn movements. It's just a ton better, and our bridge heights are, again, more rational. Just the height that we need, no more, no less. So thank you for that suggestion. And on to the main topic of today, and that's transit. So I want to take a look at this. In fact, I'm going to write this number down. The two numbers that I want to take a look at are this number here for transport in terms of residents and tourists. So we have approximately 7,000 resident trips per week and about 2,500 tourist trips. And I want to know if we can make that better. And to make it better, there's one area in particular that we're going to need to focus on. We've noticed in a few episodes, we've got a lot of backup right here. So one of the reasons we're having backup is we have these two routes that are meeting here, and we can't separate the stations without a mod. So the red line is going to wait for the pink line to pass, and that's making this whole area pretty inefficient. So we're going to focus on that. And then we're going to get some local bus service in places where it's needed. We're probably going to need to build a couple of roads to facilitate this. But I want to focus on this first because I think this is the biggest issue in the city as a whole. And the way that we're going to rectify this is we're going to go in and use one of our content creator pack, or rather one of our hubs that we have available to us. So we have this Metro bus hub, and I think that this would be an excellent location for it. Now, I know that there are a couple of issues that we're going to run into along the way, but we're going to place it. So first of all, I'd love to place it here, but we don't have this space. So we'd run into a ton of issues trying to make this work. So what I'm thinking about doing is just grading out a level pad right here and having it come right here. So let's start on that. Let's look at our terrain and see what we can do. This is challenging. That's probably the most charitable way of putting it. So we're going to do what we can. I think I'm going to grab this terrain height right about, maybe we'll go right here. And let's create a pad that we can work from. And I want to go all the way over, if I can, to this road, because we're going to use this as a core transit facility in this area. And having that extra road up is going to help. We have big plans for that road in the future too. So it's not as if we're doing it for no reason. I'm going to pull this down a little bit more. We're having some soil issues. We are very low on soil, and unless we dredge the ocean floor, this is going to be our reality for a while, unfortunately. So we're going to need to make do with what we have and do our best. Okay, so first things first, I'm going to run a road up here. I'm going to use a 4-lane road with bus lanes. This could be upgraded in the future, but for the time being, it's not going to be. And I'm just going to stub that in for now because we have some terrain issues. So let's get those remedied. And I'm going to pull this up. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to tee in just yet, but we're going to come off this road. But first, I want this to be a perfectly straight junction here. So let me just come in here. I'm going to use the grid and get rid of road guidelines so that I can pick the location and make my own node. And we'll make a connection over there in just a moment. Let's make sure we have enough space for our hub. And we can already see that we have problems with this existing route. And that's to be expected. So we'll eliminate this for just a moment and hope like heck that I can make this work without lots of issues. So from a grading standpoint, I think we can make this work. And we should take care of that now before it becomes an issue in the future. So this is always a concern when you're placing metro, is that you could end up inadvertently making this so incredibly steep that you can't actually get a line to go there. So that's certainly a concern. We don't want to do that if we can avoid it. Let's make our connection here. I'm going to run this right here, and you can see it's clicking every now and then. It doesn't like what we're doing. I'm going to use my curved road line, or my curved road tool with my road guidelines on, so I can make a really nice connection there. So the reason I didn't delete this station first is if I were to do that, it would become impossible for me to actually move this stop. And that is not, if you've ever done that, it's really kind of a pain in the butt to get that fixed. But if I leave that station there while I'm working, everything's just fine. Okay, so now we've got pads for both of these. So we should be able to move the routes just fine. And now we can delete this one and add our zoning in. So next thing before we can get this moving again is we need to make a road connection here. And I want it to be really smooth. So I'm going to use our grid and then turn on road guidelines. I was hoping I could snap. It didn't exactly work. And here's where freeform might actually work a little bit better for us. It's going to break all the zoning around here. I don't love that, but that's the game, and there's not much I can do to avoid that. So we're just going to make the connection and deal with a bit of wonkiness. So there we go. We've got our new bus hub. This isn't good enough. We're going to need to do more. And one of the things I would love to do would be to create a campus circulator and get these far-flung routes into this terminal. Probably need to bring water over here though. So let's do that. And we're gonna need power too. This is going to be very unsuitable land for anything besides commercial, and we have a lot of commercial need, so that's what we're going to zone over here. We'll have some commercial, and we're going to do something more substantial with this little, I don't even know what to call this. Whatever this shape is. Curvy rectangle. We'll do something with that in a little while. I don't want to get too crazy with this because I have some big plans for this area. So let's take a look. Now that this has power, we've got our routes coming there. We should move some of our bus routes. So we'll go in here and we'll grab this. So first, I want to start out with this red route. Let's move that in there. And I'm going to move this off from here. I know that there's a problem with this blue route. And we're going to talk about what that problem is in just a moment. So what you'll notice is I can make this route go some places, but if I go too far, it does that. And if I go even further than that, it says cannot find a path. So you might wonder, why can't I find a path? Well, let's isolate this route and take a look. So this is the Sterling Pyrotechnic route. And if we open it up, we can see one big issue right here. That's the length. So I'm going too far on this. This is a route that's pinging back and forth between this transfer facility. It's, ooh, what is it doing? Then it's going up here. And then it's going to the Pyrotechnic. And that's just too long of a trip. That said, there is a way to make this trip work. And this is not a good route. I will just put that out there. This is what I would consider more of a, it's a service that's operating because people say it needs to operate, but it's not a good route. I would expect this to operate every 90 plus minutes, 2 hours, not operate in the evenings, not operate on the weekends. Or it would be a destination-based service or event-based service where only when events happen does it make that trip from Sterling Heights up to the observatory, and it is interlined between two different routes. So that's the way I envision that route. That's not what's happening in the game. There's not really a good way for me to make that happen either. So we're gonna have to use our imagination, and we need to shorten this route. So one of the things that I missed previously is I meant to have an arterial connection here, but that's really difficult, or a collector connection here, really difficult to justify without development, unless of course you win a grant. And right now there are plenty of grants available, so we're going to make an unrealistic connection. So unrealistic connection alert. we're doing it. So we're going to pause this because we're going to bust a whole bunch of stuff. So we'll break this and ask questions later. And what I'm going to do is just free form this, try to get it to work. We are going to figure out the exact location later. But what we're going to do now is make sure that our connection actually happens. So we'll use our road guidelines. That's not liking that. There we go. Nice connection. We'll need to fix our power and our water. And this power connection is important because it actually connects up the engineering college to power. Without that, no power at the engineering school. So I can't add this road back because of its location, so we're going to scoot this back for just a moment, add our local road, and then relocate that building. This is the height of realism. There we go. We've accomplished our goal, and we'll get this back. And then we can run this again. Now that we have this there, we're going to take care of the vanilla traffic fixes, but that's a later issue. The bigger issue now is I want to connect this toll booth to this right here. And this is going to be the route that the bus takes. And when it takes this route, it should be short enough to make the trip. At least that's what I'm hoping. So to make this work, we're going to need some flat land in a couple of places. So I'm going to grab this height here and create a path behind this facility. And then we'll go ahead, add our collector there. And in fact, to get it straight, I'm going to even use those guidelines there. And we can run this back. It's not going to give me a guideline. I'm going to estimate, and that's pretty darn good. I'm pretty pleased with the way that turned out. So this is our next great challenge. And our other great challenge will be our soil availability. So the way that I think I'm going to escape that issue is I'm going to level this pad right here. And this will be a good place to make a connection into this district anyway. It's a pretty big loop, and that would be problematic for service coverage. So I think it's a rational connection to make. And then we're going to slope up here. And you see that even though we're at the border of what we can be doing, we are on the happy side of the border. So, and then we'll just bring that right there. And now I think that we are going to have the ability to slope in the way that we need to get this to work. So I'm going to flatten the pad out up here a little bit more. Right mouse click and then slope right up to there. And I didn't run out of soil, so that's a positive. And then I'm going to use my freeform tool to get most of the way down, and the curved road tool to make that curve in this road. There we go. And the other connection I want to make here is between this road, this local road, and this collector. We can make that an industry road. Just provides another outlet for the Lewis Lumber Company, and they need it. They need fire protection, so. And another outlet that would be very valuable would be some sort of crossing here as well. Just another option, and I think we're going to give that to this neighborhood. This will spur development in the future. We do need to look at our heights. It's a challenge. So let's see if we can accomplish this, or if it's going to be too heavy of a lift. So I'm stealing some soil and trying to make a nice connection across here. And what you can see is there are some height issues. So let's see if we can work with it. So we're going to make our connection here. So we'll curve this back around. And then from there, we'll continue that bend. And then we'll come up and meet this road. Like that. Wouldn't say that's the most beautiful connection, but I also wouldn't say it's the worst. And we've followed our terrain. We're gonna get rid of this lumpy and bumpy because we need the soil. So, and that is a consideration. I mean, you need soil. You can't do road work or really any kind of building without it. So there we go. And let's take care of the junction management. Prioritize this collector and get some power back to this, because we just cut off the engineering school from electricity. I guess would have been beneficial to do what has been recommended in the comments, which is give these engineers their own power. This is a demonstration project for them about how sustainable this school can really be. And truthfully, I like that idea. We'll cut them off. Look at that. Everything's fine. They've got their own power source. Except for that. I saw that and it was kind of tripping me up. Okay, so now back to our bus route. And we've got this route. Can we make it? We cannot find a path. Can we get, yeah, we're still not able to find a path. Let's see if we can force this pathfinding mission to occur. So the way that we could do that would be to add a stop somewhere on a shorter path. So that could be good enough. We're going to give it one more shot. That worked. So the game was choosing the fastest path, but the fastest path wasn't necessarily the shortest path. And because of that, we were running into issues. So we've got this route. It's working. I wouldn't say that it's good, but it's working. And look at this. We're already shooting up. We've got an extra 500-ish passengers a week. Real good. Really good. And this, the utilization, that's insane. 1,120 passengers per week. I want to see what we're looking at with our metro routes here. So we've got a couple of lines here. Let's move this over and try to take a look. Always a bit difficult. The UI doesn't scale. I'm in 4K right now, and this is still a massive box. So I know that it's this one, I think the college line. So when we take a look at that, we still do have this one significant area of backup. and a few others. I'm going to crank this all the way up to the top and try to clear this queue. I think we can handle it now. The big concern we had before was that they had to wait at this train station, at this metro station, and that slowed the entire route down. If this doesn't work, we've got another alternative, and that is really to sever the line right here at the Goodall Institute for Conservation and have the downtown segment separate from the segment going out to the Pyrotechnic. I really dislike that idea. And if I were to do that, it is simply because I'm playing the game and really making sure that I'm facilitating what the game requests of that. So that route, this does look like it's improving a bit. And when we look at this, the numbers are going up a bit. So hopefully over time the queue's clear. Let's go and take a look at the other route. And this one now is fine. So there's a lot of metro vehicles here. You see that we're starting to get some that aren't all that full. We could probably take this down and save a bit of money. So I'm gonna lower this just a bit. We'll get this down to 12 vehicles. And I think we're still gonna clear our queues. So the pink line is really the concern. And we've got grand visions for this pink line in the future when we start to develop the rest of this island. So it's really important that this route works, even if we have issues with it right now. So there we go. Got that going. Now, I noticed some interesting things happening over on this part of town. So first of all, let's hop back in to just our bus routes. We're going to turn all of our lines back on, and I want to explore this. So these routes that are over here were structured around our old roadway network. And as a result of that, they do a lot of things poorly. In fact, they're missing this terminal here. They're just looping around. There's some interesting patterns. They're coming over here and they're hopping on this bypass route. We don't want any of this. So we're going to do some work. So what we're going to do, I'm going to clear some of these. I don't want to delete the routes if I can avoid that, but I do want to see what it's doing right now. This route is hopping down to this transfer facility. I think we're going to try to stop that. So we'll have routes that do this on their own. Okay, so that brought the route way back here. So now it's getting to be a bit more logical, but there's still some issues. The buses are on the wrong side of the road. So the easiest way to deal with this would probably be to blow it up and start over, but I've named all these lines, so I really don't want to do that if I can avoid it. Really, we need a couple of new routes, and we need buses not to be doing that sort of loopy nonsense. I've cut this road off here, and there were some comments about that move. In particular, not being the wisest. I could accomplish the same thing with a policy, and I agree. We're going to reestablish this because we need it for bus service. And then we're going to add a district here that has a heavy traffic ban. So nothing here. There will never really be anything here. This is just going to be the transit plaza or transit square. And we're going to have one policy in particular that is important, the heavy traffic ban, so they won't use this road. And I'm going to make sure I don't inadvertently get it on these other roads. I do not want that to happen. I just don't want trucks going down here. I'm okay with buses. I'm okay with private vehicles. No trucks. And of course they don't listen. So we're not using mods here. They're going to go a little bit rogue, but it'll be a little bit better. So back to our routes. So now we've got this route and it's hopping down here. I think we can do better. And part of that might be adding stops here to prevent that movement. That is a very fast movement. It's not a big surprise that the game is favoring it, but we need to tell it not to. So there we go. We're going to add that there. We do want this to hop into the transfer center. So the purpose of this route now is going to be to serve the I-10 Industrial Park and have a couple of targeted places where you could transfer between routes if you wanted to. That said, this pink route is going to go away. We're going to restructure that. So let's pull this route into here. And then rather than serving this area over here directly, we have a pedestrian connection over here. So there's no reason why people couldn't walk up and get to either this transfer facility or the routes over here. So having the bus go right past their house is very convenient, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right choice. So we're going to skip that. And that's always a controversial move. So the other thing is it's not routing appropriately, and that's because we're entering the transfer facility at the wrong time. It's interesting. I think we might be... Oh, we have this extra stop here. It's still circulating around the block, which is unfortunate. So I really don't like that. I really, really dislike that. But it seems as though that's all I can do. It's fixed now because I got rid of that stop there, and that's a little bit better. Now these are deviating where they're heading, and I want them to mirror each other to be logical. This is the game not playing nice with me. So I think that we're going to have to accept a little bit of wonkiness. No matter what I do, it's going to be a little weird. So we're just going to have to accept some of that. But in general, we know that we're coming here, we're hitting the transfer facility. One more opportunity to get on. One more opportunity here. These are too close, actually. I'm going to move this down. That's about 2 blocks. This is too close now as well. We'll move this down. And now we have our pink line there. You could walk between the 2 routes. And we'll get rid of this one. There we go. So same thing here. We'll move this down so that you could move between the routes. And keep these at the corners so it's doing something logical. Nice tight route. It's doing things that make sense. And I'm pleased with what it's doing. So this I'm not very happy with. There's a lot of weird stuff going on here with this route. Before it was hopping in the roundabout, and I think that's why it made sense. This cleans up much of our issue, but I still don't love that it's hopping down and using this particular junction right here. I think this is a much more logical junction. The only way to facilitate that would be to pull some stops down here, particularly in the return trip. I think it's possible. So I could certainly go over here and add a stop that would separate it. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not serving anything. So we're going to avoid that. And I think that we're just going to deal with a bit of wonkiness right here. I do think there would be value, even though this is fairly close, in having one stop in the neighborhood and allowing a chance to transfer between those routes. So now we have one route circulating in the neighborhood. You could either take that route to right here and then get to work, or you could come here and head out to this neighborhood over here. Now the movement that we're missing is a movement in between these 2 transfer facilities. So we're going to do that right now. We'll create a new line, have an opportunity to get on here, come right back. Now let's take a look at this route, because this is a mess. So this is our new route. One direction, it's hopping over here. The other, it's circulating around here. And that is not desirable. I'm not 100% sure why it's over here actually. So it's coming down here and driving through the neighborhood. So we're probably going to clean that up. We want this to mirror. I'm going to add kind of a nonsensical stop just to make the routes make a bit more sense. And look at that. It just really dislikes that. It's going to start looping back around. Oh, I was on the wrong side of the road. There we go. That fixes it. And we'll add one more right here. So now it's at least a parallel trip. Makes a bit more sense. And I'm happy. I'm wondering if there's some one-ways here or something that are causing some issues. I don't see them. So it's just one of those weird things. I guess it's not going to prioritize certain routes because it's a little bit faster on one of the trips. There we go. So that is a nice improvement. Be able to ping back and forth, and we want to name that. Again, we've added about 100 passengers, and we're going to name this the Myrtle Park Lewis Shores line. There we go. So now we've really blanketed this entire area with coverage, you can get back and forth between the routes. And I think that some of these routes, like right here, we've got 10 vehicles. Probably want to look at this. That's way too many vehicles. This is really just the service to ensure that we have coverage. It's really a coverage service. I wouldn't imagine that this would have a lot of utilization, but for the people that do use it, it's probably a lifeline. And you see that when you have transfer service between transfer points. So there we go. And let's look at our other lines. Let's see how we did there. We've got this I-10 line. This is one that we modified. Buses are, half capacity. Good service though. I think we're going to keep it elevated like that. And then in the counterclockwise direction, same thing. All the buses have passengers, so except for this one. We'll keep it for now. We could probably cut that down to make it a bit more effective. The Myrtle Express. Where's the Myrtle Express going? That's the one that's going over here. And this is another spot where I could see there being a benefit to having a new roadway connection. First of all, this land could be developed if it had one, and it was at grade and then bridged over and connected over here somehow. I think we're going to hold that off for the time being, and we will make this development an episode itself because it's a really key investment in the community, and I think it's going to do a lot to bridge the wealth gap here. But for the time being, we're going to leave it. So one of the big misses now is, first of all, Lewis Shores has no bus service at all. There's no connection in between the Meadow District terminal. Oh. All right. We had a fire. All right. Back to what we were doing. Getting distracted by fires. Let's have a route that circulates through here, connects back at Buzzsaw Landing, and then makes a transfer connection in between Meadow District and Lewis Garden. I'll start with that because it's a fairly easy route to make. So there we go. 2 vehicles on this route. Again, they want 11. We'll take that down. I think 3 is probably going to do the trick. It's just pinging back and forth between those 2 areas, so it shouldn't be heavily utilized. Now here, we really should take a look at our land uses considering we're making a new route. We don't want a route that only goes to residential. If we can, we should try to make sure we're hitting these nodes of density and offering a transfer opportunity with the metro. So we're going to absolutely do that. So we have 1 metro facility here. I believe that's our only one in this area. So just coming up here, we'll go down this bus road, swing around here, and then come back through Lewis Shores, right down the center of it. And this is a metro here, so it's not a huge deal, but it would be able to get people along the route to the metro, and that's why you build that route. And hopefully you construct it in a way that makes it possible for the bus to always have passengers on it. And that's why we're going to try to have destinations and places where people get on. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to bring it all the way down to Log Drivers Bend and offer a transfer opportunity. And then we'll mirror this. I don't even know that I know that I've preached about the need to have logical services that mirror one another. I'm not sure in this particular instance how important that is. Interesting. There's this stop here, and that's probably why these services aren't mirrored. Let's eliminate that stop. Doesn't do anything. Well, I tried. There we go. Now they're basically mirroring those yellow lines. All right, so we've got our first line. We need to start changing colors. All of our new lines are blue. This is going to be the Lewis Shore line. That's counterclockwise. I'm going to make this one light, kind of a aquamarine color. And then let's mirror this as well. And I've just got too many lines on at this point, so I'm struggling to figure out which one I'm working on. Let's turn those off. Makes it a lot easier. When you have different colors, especially, it's much simpler to figure out where you are. So I know it's kind of a pain in the neck to go through and adjust those, but it's probably worth your time. So let's rename this one. I'm going to copy this. Copy and paste does work in here, and then make sure I hit enter because I always forget to do that. There we go. Clockwise, counterclockwise. Let's see what they're throwing at this spot. The 5 is probably okay. You can already see there are people queuing up there. This was a need, so I would expect this to be a well-utilized route. Interestingly, we're dropping ridership. I'm not going to read too much into that. We are up on tourists a bit and down on residents. Probably the weekly change that you would expect to see. And now we have pretty decent coverage here. An area where we don't, let's make sure we do have coverage here. We are well covered here. We do not have any coverage in our Lewis Lumber Company or in Mill Hill. So I'm a little disappointed in something that I did here. I think that there probably should be some sort of transfer facility here. We didn't build one, and we're going to just live with the consequences of that. So what we're going to do is have a route that comes over here, meets in Mill Hill, and then one that comes in Mill Hill, meets over here, and then a route that comes from Mill Hill and circulates around here. And I think the 3 of those routes, 3 circulator routes, will do the trick. So we're not going to mirror these. These are not mirroring routes. These are circulators. So totally fine. The purpose is to get people from point A to point B. This might be the type of service that runs along with the work schedule, truthfully. And then from there, we make a stop right in here. There we go. So let's name this one. This one's going to be Mill Hill Sterling Heights. And what we're going to do is have the exact same route, maybe offset the stops. We'll go in the opposite direction for this. And this will go out to Lewis Shores. And I'll even separate those end stops a bit. We'll send this down here. And this is a really full facility. We went from having no service there to really having very high quality service. There we go. And this one will be... And now for the route that serves the Lewis Lumber Company, this is going to be a longer route circulating around here. Unfortunately, with the way this works, in reality, I think that you'd probably go over here to the garbage-filled building, the main building. You would take a work vehicle to go out, carpool, so to speak, in here. That is not what the game wants to do. Wow, there's a lot of issues. Not enough buyers for products, not enough raw materials. Interesting. That is interesting. Not sure why that's happening, because we have raw forestry products right here. They could drive over. They're not. Little detour here. I'm very curious about this, because I would have assumed that this works just fine. That it hops down. Might need to explore that soon. Something's not right here. Something's broken. You can see that half of our buildings just don't have anything in it. So I'm curious about whether setting this to empty would help or not. The other concern that I'm seeing here is we have these processors, not enough raw materials either. I'm just not sure why that's the case. Very interesting. I'm going to just experiment. Set one of these, let's set these empty and see if that fixes it. The idea being they get their products in here, it empties quickly and goes into here. We'll see if that does the trick. They've got workers. That's not the problem. All right, we're gonna come back to this. We need to make our last route, and I need to not get distracted. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm very distracted. So we're gonna come through here, and we're gonna go on the back edge of this. No, we'll send it right down the middle. I really would prefer not. Actually, we're gonna loop back around. You can walk a block. I don't want to interrupt the traffic flow here too much if I can avoid it. So we'll have a stop at the main office building. And then to keep the route quick, we're going to say you can walk in a couple of these places. And the more I think about it, the more I think we've just got to have these stops, even if I don't like them. And I think I am going to pull it up even. No, we'll continue to stick back here. Now, what I didn't do is add a connection over to Mill Hill. So we'll add that now. We'll just pull this over. What we're going to do is add one stop here and one on the other side. And just move these so there's a transfer opportunity. So it's just paying attention to our existing routes and trying to make sure that they make sense for what we're trying to accomplish. So lots of bus stuff happening here. Lots of bus stuff. This one obviously has to be green. Get that in there. There we go. Okay, very good. We've made a lot of routes. A lot of stuff is happening. Traffic flow is still okay. We're still about where we were. Our transit is not really improving in the way that I had hoped. It's better. We're about 300 up for residents and about 400 up for tourists. I want to go through the routes now and see if we have any with significant backup. We've got some with very high utilization. That's where we're going to start because those are the ones that tend to have issues. So government line, almost 500 passengers per week. Just a refresher. Let's see what this line looks like. This line is a downtown route. First of all, I see no backups. Lots of buses. They're mostly half full or less. It's looping around. We could probably turn this one down. That said, it's successful and I'm reluctant to change that because we have success. Wow, look at this. Backups with our metro downtown. Way too many out here. Let's look at a couple more bus routes though. Just want to make sure we don't have way too many vehicles. Let's turn some of these down. This one has far too many. All these buses have 6, 9, 0. We'd like to see that get closer to 30, so I'm basically cutting it in half and hoping that that improves things. We'll do the same thing with government line. Here I see some that are in the 20s. I'll cut this down to about 35, and hopefully that'll give us some buses that are a bit more full. Parkside. So this is a route that goes to Parkside and down to the shore. Not any issues here. That's because we have a trillion buses. So again, I see a lot of low numbers, a lot of empty buses. We're going to really tone this one down. We'll get 25. We'll have to revisit that at some point. Hopefully that improves things there. Sterling Estates Shuttle. This one was really popular. A lot of vehicles here, but you can see that at some point they get loaded up and we're almost at pass up with some of these. So I think we're going to leave this one. 26 vehicles seems to be working effectively there. And then the Sterling Estate South Shuttle. Same thing. Oh, we've got one really broken stop. And I don't know that there's going to be a lot that I can do. What this tells me is that there's a need for a higher capacity transit here, and we're not facilitating that. The way to accomplish this, I mean, they want to get over here. Truthfully, a metro extension would probably be very valuable. I just don't know how you justify it financially. So that's the only transit that's going to work to clear this queue, but we just can't really justify that expense. So this area, it's all single family homes and a police department. Or is that a community school? Community school. So I could see it here maybe. Maybe you get an extension. But even this is commercial, not really well warranted or justified. So I would see an articulated bus as a better solution here. Again, it's at 30 when it gets here. Shoot. The other solution would be to cut this route down. It's really long, and that could be a way to fix this. That's the route that we're going to take. No pun intended. The way that we're going to do that is we'll get rid of this connection here, and this one and this one. Everyone hates this. because now the route doesn't make any sense. And what we're going to do is just send it over here, loop back around, and then we'll create a new route, and this will kind of be a transfer plaza. So cutting this down means that the route will be faster. You'll have to transfer, but hopefully the added capacity in this shorter route, and the times will speed up. Hopefully that'll resolve our issue. So again, mirroring those stops, now it loops back around. This one will be, we'll name this Sterling South Shuttle 1, and we'll have 2. So we have a lot of routes. There we go. And I think this is going to load up. Look at that. We've already got this one stop. Oh, that's okay. That's to be expected. This will load up. I'm hoping that this clears it. This other stop is concerning. It's that same spot. So much. I'm curious. I don't know why there would be so much transit demand. We can look at it. We'll just turn on pedestrians. Where are they coming from? Wow. So they're coming from all over the place to come over here. They're crossing the road, coming from this neighborhood, coming back here. So these are, as far as single family neighborhoods go, it's dense, but that's a real struggle. And our traffic's hovering in the same spot. Let's see. Take a look at this route once more. We've already got 100 there, and we're about to pass people up again. I'm going to crank this up to 14, because at least now we can control the two halves of this route independently. And that's really the benefit of severing it. So we could have twice as much service going in between this little hub here and the terminal. And then for the second half of our route, we can see that now there's not quite as much demand, and we could turn this down. So we'll take this down to 100. A lot of these buses are empty or near it. So we can hopefully accomplish this route with, 7 buses is probably ideal. Because considering we have 14 going the other direction, that would be very legible. And you could facilitate a time transfer between those. Obviously in the game, doesn't matter, but in reality, that's what you do. And some bus bunching right here. So I think that these will eventually get to here and clear that queue. You see that we still got a bunch of empty buses. I'm going to speed this up for a second. Let's just see what happens. Okay, so I've watched this for a while, and it's slowly improving. As the buses unbunch, things get a little bit better. So this stop is still this one, but there's a lot of service here now. And as this comes through, things are getting better. So I think we're going to leave it at the 14 buses. I think that's going to be good enough. Interestingly, our residential passengers are starting to fall back to where we were at the start of the episode, but our tourist passengers, again, are jumping up. So a couple more routes to take a look at. The further we get down here, the less concerned I am. You might have one stop that has a number of passengers. Really, that's probably we're fine-tuning it just to make sure that we aren't having issues. I want to come back over to the lines that we modified. Looks like it's holding up okay. There's one stop where, there is a bit of passing, where you might have to wait for 2 buses. In reality, that would be unacceptable in the game. We can deal with it, so we're going to. And the second one, the Temecula, this one is not Temecula. But it's doing okay here as well. So I'm more satisfied with the bus service than I was before. The smaller routes, not overly concerned about. I'm more concerned at this point with what I'm seeing with our metros. So I want to take a look at that. And what I'm seeing is that particularly this airport sunset line, a lot of vehicles. Wow, look at this. Look at this. So again, this is another route where it's likely too long. We're 13 kilometers, very short stop spacing, and a couple of really popular stops. Central Station, obviously. What we might have to do is cut this route in half and have half of it go out to the airport and the other half pop out, and let's see where this is going. Let's turn on just this route. So it's coming down here. It's not even going that far. It's just going over to the Hamilton experience, and it's just overloaded. So I'm going to fix this one, but I do think that this is a project that really warrants additional time going through the metro itself and getting this fixed. So we are going to do that. Likely in a standalone episode. There we go. We've eliminated those and we'll add another one. And then let's go back into our names. And we had the airport sunset line, and we'll call this east. And then we have the airport sunset line west. And the two of those will still accomplish the same thing, only 2 vehicles. That we know that's not going to be enough. I'm going to pop this up to 4 because I expect this to be very busy. And then on the other side, let's take a look, 900 at the airport. Wow. So this should get better because the route is shorter, but that is extreme. It's going to take some time. I'm going to let this one run again and see if things improve. The numbers to look at, key numbers, the airport at about 800, and this right here, I believe that one's Central Station at about 4. We have another stop right here by Verde Hills. Very, very, very full. I'll let this run for about 2 minutes. We'll see what happens. Okay, so I see a trend already. Things are improving at both the airport and at Central Station, but getting worse right here, which is curious. So what I think is happening when I'm looking at this is there's a lot of bunching right here. And I was curious as to the number of routes that we have here. So let's take a look at this. And it's not as if we have a ton of routes down here. They're just, in fact, I think it's just this orange route at this point. Interesting. Well, I'm curious. Let's say I move the orange route. So we're going to go in here. I'm wondering if that improves anything. It shouldn't. It really shouldn't do anything. But it might be a slight improvement. The other thing we could do would be to skip that stop and skip a couple of stops and have something that goes out this way, or sever it over here and force a transfer. Again, that's unreasonable and unrealistic, but that's what you can do to make it happen. Problem is we just broke our transfer opportunity, so this isn't ideal either. And now we're sharing it with this yellow line. Yeah, that's not going to work. So we were optimized there. So I'll put that back where it was. We're going to need to do some more investigation. So I think that we could really crank the number of passengers. We already have. So our tourism trips have gone up by about 1,000. And that's a mixture of the bus network tweaks and, some of the changes that we made here at the airport. You can see there's still a lot of people there. And if we go in and take a look at this, let's look one more time. Oh, we're right back there at the airport. That is really a challenge. We got a lot of bunching, unavoidable unless we restructure this route. I think this route's just fundamentally broken, and I want to rethink about all of our metro routes soon, but I think that's not going to be today because that deserves a bit more focus. So we're going to continue this in the next one. I want to give another huge shout out to today's video sponsor, NordVPN. If you're interested in getting that for someone for the holidays, the link is in the description. Actually, before I cut this off, I really want to pop in and look at this because this is the most successful thing that we've done today. 1,308 total trips here. That is really impressive. And this is really a testament to how important it is to make sure that your that your routes are in the right spot. We actually missed a route that I meant to put together, so we're going to do that quickly as well. And that was just the circulator route on the campus. So we'll add a line here. We'll stop right in front of campus and then come back through here. Number of stops. The purpose of this being to circulate through campus. We're not going to go to engineering hall. Sorry, engineers. We'll have a stop right there so they can cross the road and get there. This is just the circulator, so we're not going to mirror anything. There we go. So that will be our circulator. That'll be the pyrotechnic loop, and of course we've got to make that red. There we go. And oh, whoa, what is it doing? No. That is not okay. It's not. There's just another red route coming here. I thought it was popping over. The other thing I noticed I missed is we've got a bridge concern here. I inadvertently upgraded this to the wrong bridge. Just at the ends. We'll get that fixed. In a coming episode, we're gonna do even more here. So, but there we go for now. All right, back to where we were. And I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like button. If you aren't subscribed, please consider doing so. Happy holidays. Thank you so much for sticking with me this year. And I look forward to creating more videos for you next year. Take care. Bye-bye.